this is Alex McNeil here with Looking for Group. I'm here with Alex Kurtz, who is the director, head coach, operator of the esports program at Juniata College. Thanks so much for being here today.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
So, love to give you an opportunity to basically just talk about the program, tell us a little bit about what you guys have built and are working on. Yeah, and tell us anything that you think is relevant for students who are looking to play esports in college.
Sure. So our program started a couple of years ago. It originally started out as a club team. Basically, it was five friends who just competed in CLOL through Riot's program. They just competed through their club. There's a big gaming club on campus called Ministry of Games. So that's kind of how they started. And then a couple years, they did it for a couple years, and then during their senior year, they ended up being part of the Landmark Conference, which partnered through Riot to become a partner conference,
Hmm.
like a couple other conferences in the nation. And because of that, the school kind of gave them a little bit more recognition. They finished second. They were runner-ups in the conference that year, and since then, the school has very much taken a dive into the esports scene. They created a varsity League of Legends program, which is our current only varsity offering that we have. We
Okay.
do have other games, but that is our only varsity offering. There are plans to grow into other ones, but for right now, that's what we have. And yeah, we've been pretty successful on that front since we started that. We were runner up. We were runner up in the landmark. We went to at the time there was a national play-in tournament, so we competed in that. Um, we missed qualification for the big CLOL tournament, like when you get flown out to Riot. Um, but for considering that was the first year of like
Yeah.
real recognition, that was pretty. That was a pretty good showing from them. And then this year, we were on pace to win the landmark. We were undefeated in the regular season, number one seed going into playoffs, and then unfortunately COVID happened, so the season kind of got canceled. So
So
um,
what are the titles that you have varsity teams in? What kind of games are you guys playing in
sure.
this league?
So
Yeah.
varsity right now we have League of Legends.
Okay, just like
Um,
cool.
and then we have three other club teams that we've been
Okay,
kind of doing.
nice.
But that being said, basically anybody who comes to me with an idea of starting a club team, I will
Yeah.
help them facilitate that. But right now we have Rocket League, Smash Bros, and CS:GO. So
Okay.
Smash is definitely our biggest one in
Yeah.
terms of the club, where we have probably 15 kids that are involved with that. A couple graduated from last year, but for the most part, mostly everybody is returning back. Rocket League is something we're starting this year. The Landmark actually decided that they were going to sponsor their own competition for Rocket League as well going into the fall.
Yeah.
That being said, they canceled all fall sports, so I don't know if it technically qualifies as a sport yet. I haven't gotten clarification from the conference yet on that.
Yeah.
But either way, we will be fielding a Rocket League team this year, and we also have a CS:GO club team as well.
Nice. So are you guys offering scholarships for the League of Legends team?
Yes, we offer. We can offer 5 scholarships per year. They're $2,500 a year, so it's 10K in total.
Nice. Um, so, one of the things that a lot of students are interested in is facilities. Tell us a little bit about what space, resources, hardware, peripherals students have access to when they're playing on campus.
Sure. So our facility right now features 10 computers. They're Alienware rigs. Um, all of our peripherals are Logitech, and we have 144 hertz scale monitors set up.
Nice.
All the players have access to the facility 24/7. They have a key to get in. Um, Things are going to change a little bit because of COVID, but in a non-COVID world, they have 24/7 access.
Yeah.
Um, right now, it's separated into 2 rooms. There's 5 computers in one room, 5 computers in the other. So we kind of use the back room as like our game day space.
Cool.
And then during practice, obviously, all the computers are usually used. The opening room, so like there's a lobby area, which is where the first 5 computers are. That room is open to any of the club teams as well
Hmm.
to use for competition, for basically anything that they need. And my office is also in there as well. So if anyone needs to come talk to me, whether it's about starting a club team, some support they need for maybe the varsity team, or anything else, they can come in there and talk to me basically at any given point during the day.
Nice. So, I'd love to know when you're thinking about your program and you're evaluating it kind of compared to some of the other programs that are popping up around the country. I mean, what's something you
Hmm.
think really differentiates you or is special about your program, one way or another?
Sure. So my program the way I wanted to build it is that I wanted to not just focus on competition. I think while competition is super important, I think because we're an institution in the higher education world, that we should be prepping these students for a career later on. So right now, during the first year that I was there, we sponsored two students with internal internships. They basically earned academic credit for the work they were doing alongside the program. One was acting as a social media manager, and the other was acting kind of as like a content director. So they were planning all the content that we put out, going say they went with us during to land tournaments to either do like photo shoots or film footage.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they both got credit and internship credit for that and a grade on it. And that's
Nice.
something we're trying to expand further as we
Yeah.
continue to build the program out. We're also trying to build a broadcast booth and control room in our facility, so that way we can have a lot of control over our actual broadcasts themselves, and just have another way for students that want to get any, or well, at least to dip their feet into like the broadcasting world, they have a place to be able to go and do that.
Very cool. Yeah, so I think a kind of final question that I'd love to ask is, for you as a coach, as a director, what's some advice you would give to students who are starting to think about applying for esports to play in college? Something, could be about the application process, about,
Mhm.
how to get good fit as a student, looking at programs, whatever you're thinking about.
The first thing I'd say is put yourself out there and make it so we can find you. That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing. There's a lot of students that are like, "Hey, I play esports." It's like, okay, cool. Like, where can I find you? Where can I look at your stuff? Do you have a portfolio? Is there something that I can like physically look at? And a lot of them don't have that.
Hmm.
So I'd say if you're really serious, if you can put something out there that like all the collegiate directors or coaches can see, I
Yeah.
think that automatically gives you a big step up. And then number two, I'd say if you're trying to develop, like find a career in esports, try to find a place that allows you to both compete and have some sort of academic tie-in
Hmm.
alongside that. So if you can find some way, if you really want to work in esports, let's say I'll use communications for an example because that's what I was.
Yeah.
I found ways to tie that in. So I went to my communications professor while I was in college, and I was like, "Hey, we do this esports thing. Let's do a broadcast for it."
Yeah.
And then that gave me a little bit of experience going forward to go
Cool.
through that. So I'd say those are two of the biggest things. Number one, especially, just
Yeah.
if we can find you,
Yeah.
that's great.
Like on that note, I mean, what kind of materials or I mean, are you looking for like full replays? Like what kind of stuff
Hmm.
to you is like important and gives you a sort of sense of, who a player is, what their abilities are, et cetera, et cetera.
So I'd say so I can use. There's a student that I just talked to yesterday, and I'll use him as an example. He basically had a portfolio listed of like all the competitive experience that he had. So
Mm,
that was number one, like a number one really important thing. The fact that I got to see that like he's played in a team environment before, like he's not just coming like straight out of solo queue, for example.
yeah.
And number two, he had a real like cut and clipped of like things that he's done like while he's played, and like being able to physically see something, like sure, like if you give me a thing that says like I'm diamond, I'm master, whatever rank, like that's great on the surface level, but like what differentiates you from a player? And I think if you can show me something that allows me to see like, okay, maybe you're a more supportive style player, and maybe he'd mesh really well with our current 80 carry that we have on the roster. If you can like give me those smaller details in any way, shape, or form, I think
Mm,
that's an excellent step going forward.
okay. Nice. That's really thorough. That's awesome. Well, Alex, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.